What's going on, Colts Nation? I'm Lawrence Owen. This is Colts Law. And normally, you know me, I have no qualms about sitting here talking about any player, any team in the NFL on my own, whether it's the Colts, whether it's another team, whether it's a player I don't like, whether it's a player I like. But sometimes, just sometimes, cool things happen where you want to talk about somebody and you really like somebody out there that, you know, you've worked with or something that really knows that team or player really, really well. And it just so happens that for me, this stream, it coincided just like that. Yes, I was thinking, you know what? A lot of Colts fans out there was like, well, what about Dak Prescott? What about Dak Prescott? You know, he may not end up with the Cowboys. The Cowboys may not sign him. He may not want to sign a franchise tag. They might not be able to afford a franchise tag. All sorts of stuff. So Dak's all over everywhere. I wanted to get that talk into. So guess what? I'm bringing in one of my favorite guys that I love talking to on Sportscaster. He was a co-host of mine for over a year now over on Sportscaster. He covered the Dallas Cowboys with How About 'Em. Let's welcome in my guy, Keith McPherson, to the stream. Keith, thank you so much for being here.
What's up?
Man, I love having you on. You always have a really good energy about you, and you talk so well. You know exactly what you're going to say, no matter whether or not it's off the top of your damn head. It's like you've been contemplating it for 4 days, even if it's just right there. So that's fun to me. And man, I could sit here and talk with you for hours, but I understand we all have time restraints, especially sitting now in the COVID situation. But here's the big question. Oh, man, I've already got people in the chat commenting.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the chat. I'm on Sportscaster. Didn't give me the notification.
I'm not on Sportscaster right now.
Oh, it's on YouTube.
I'm on YouTube. That's right. This is straight. Well, I mean, we did our last Sportscaster NFL Sportscaster news thing, I think Monday, me and Ray. And so I'm done. The only thing that I'm posting over on Sportscaster now for the next like 2 weeks is basically my podcast and maybe a couple film studies, and that's all I'm supposed to be running. So my regular stuff, just for you, type in Lawrence Owen, look me up. You should find my live stream going right away. Those of you watching, please smash that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed. That way. That way, you don't get you're notified next time I go live. But anyhow, so like I said, we all want to know what is going to happen with Dak Prescott this season. I mean, I'm looking at the salary cap right now, and it says that the Dallas Cowboys estimated cap space is a little over $20 million this year. But it's funny how the tag works. The tag generally is, you know, you take the average of your top 5 guys and that's what he gets. Last year it was like 32 million. This year, however, it doesn't work that way because it's a 20% bonus when you tag 2 times in a row. So you're looking for Dak Prescott, it's going to be $36.8 million for a franchise tag, but your cap space is only $20 million. How is that going to end up working? Do you feel as though it is a lot of pressure on Jerry Jones to get that contract, that 4-year contract that has been rumored that's what Dak wants, signed and done before free agency starts?
Yeah, man. Jerry messed this thing up, and Jerry knows he messed this thing up, and Jerry also knows he's the only one that could potentially fix this thing or ruin it or blow it. I come into the show, Lawrence Owen show, Colts Law. I'm a fan of Lawrence Owen. I don't have time to talk to everybody, but if we're talking Cowboys and we're talking Dak, Lawrence knows I'm coming through for that. And I'm a Dak guy. I think the first time we did a show was around the draft or right before the draft. No, I think it was maybe right when we learned that Dak wasn't going to get his contract last year. And I came in with the hashtag pay Dak, talking about this is ridiculous that they haven't paid Dak. They could have paid Dak multiple times, right? When we look at the guys that Dak was drafted with, Look at their situations now. Let's start in the NFC East, in our own division. The NFC East is in shambles quarterback-wise. We're looking at the Eagles first, talking about Carson Wentz, who was drafted in the same class as Dak Prescott, and we don't know where he's going to end up, but we basically watched him get benched in favor of a second-round rookie in Jalen Hurts, who a lot of people didn't think could play. Now, when you look at the rest of the teams in the East, Daniel Jones, there's gonna be some question marks around that kid too. When Saquon gets back and he's got his third year, it's going to be a year of like, hey, is this the guy or is this not the guy? Honestly, as a Cowboys fan, I don't think that's the guy. I think he's all right. I think he's average, but I don't think he's a guy to take them over the top. And I think they wasted a number 6 overall pick on him. Then you got the Redskins, who a lot of people are rumoring, but I mean, Dak's been rumored with 4 or 5 other teams, including the Colts. The Redskins are rumored to be interested in Dak potentially, but they're supposed to be interested in Cam. The Redskins get to the postseason. They get to the playoffs this year with Taylor Heineke playing in that game. And Alex Smith got him there on one leg, and their other option was Kyle Allen. So basically what I'm saying is Dak is the best quarterback that came out of his draft class. I didn't mention Jared Goff, who landed in LA or was in LA, and they got him out of there. He landed in Detroit. I think his career is going to be over sooner rather than later. He'll be a career backup after the next couple years. But Dak is the best quarterback that was drafted in his class, and he's the best quarterback in his division. Jerry Jones knows that. The Cowboys know that. The Cowboys fans know that. But what we're going to have to pay Dak now, I don't know if Jerry Jones wants to do that. He made a mistake giving all that money to Ezekiel Elliott. He paid other guys like Jalen Smith, who we watched run around, miss tackles, over pursue or under pursue. I don't know. As a Cowboys fan, I'm in a position right now. I've watched them fail the last few years. And this year, watching them without Dak, I'm like, Dak is this whole team. He's the locker room voice. He's the quarterback. He gets it done with his legs. He gets it obviously done in the air with his arm. And these guys rally around him. And it took a freak accident like him cracking his leg the way he did against the Giants for his season to end. But you know what? I think everyone in Cowboys land realizes who the MVP is. And it's up to Jerry Jones to get it done. And before I pass it back to you, I'll say this. I don't think Jerry Jones wants to give Dak what he's worth. I think Jerry Jones is going to try and play a little game and try and, maybe either extend the years, but that $40 million a year he's not trying to do. And last year it was like, okay, Dak only wants a 4-year contract. The Cowboys want to go 5 years. Now you see what happened this year. It's like maybe they come together and maybe Dak agrees to a 4-year. No, I don't know if that happens. Maybe they come down on the money. I don't know. Dak's agent isn't budging on the money. He knows what he's worth, especially in this year where we're seeing these quarterbacks. It's going to be a carousel. We don't know where some of these guys are going to land. There's guys that still could potentially retire. There's guys that could be traded. I think we see some people traded on draft night. And then there is a good crop of young quarterbacks coming into this league in the first round of the draft. Who knows where anyone is going to land? And I think Jerry Jones knows that he made a mistake. And I don't know. I as a Cowboys fan, I might be in a position where I'm walking away from the team or I'm boycotting the team if they don't secure Dak Prescott long term. But I know there's a question mark with his health. I know he's got to come back and show he's healthy after that injury. But there's no question that he's the leader of this team. He's the heartbeat of this team, and that he's owed that money. Those Dannon commercials and those sleep number commercials and chunky soup commercials, they can only do so much for a 4th-round pick that basically was making peanuts for Jerry Jones, whose team is worth over $5 billion.
Well, I mean, like I said, he did get franchise tag. He sat down. He made some money last year, even after the injury, because, I mean, the tag is guaranteed straight through the season, no matter if you're injured or not. But that brings up an interesting question. You're talking about the injury, and that's an ankle injury. And one of his biggest weapons is his mobility, able to extend a play. And you wouldn't think that would be such a big deal a couple years ago, like in 2018 with Dallas. We were talking about them having possibly the best offensive line in football, them and the Saints and the Colts, right? And then this past season, we just watched the shambles, the offensive wall, the Dallas Cowboys just begin to crumble. And a pocket quarterback just was unable to really get it done there. I expected with a wall that a pocket quarterback would do really good. I thought the red rifle would do good, but that offensive line was not protecting him at all. It was obvious they missed Dak Prescott's mobility, able to extend it and get the ball down the field. But like you said, man, that injury, does that hamper possibly a little bit, maybe not his leverage of getting re-signed, but the amount of money that he's going to get, like guaranteed?
I think it's something they'll try to use as leverage. The Dallas Cowboys will. I think the Dallas Cowboys will say, hey, we don't know what you're going to be. And I think that is where I say, like, these two sides are going to come together. I think Dak, getting paid the $31 million that he got paid from the franchise tag this year, that's the biggest payday that the guy has collected in his NFL career. He also had to sit down and watch for the first time in his NFL career, watch the team without him. And I think both sides, right? The Cowboys also got to watch, wow, without number 4, this team is nothing. We signed Andy Dalton before the season. Andy Dalton got signed, and Cowboys fans said, oh, well, with all those weapons in this offensive line, maybe Andy Dalton is the answer, and we don't pay Dak.
I learned that way.
a lot of Cowboys fans were actually saying that, and I'm like, no way. Dak is all right. So Dak's mobile, or his mobility, Dak is mobile, and his mobility is something that, yes, it could be impacted by this ankle, but the surgery, I think he already had a second surgery, and they said he's ahead of schedule. This guy is a freak. Like, athletically, physically, this guy is a freak. I don't think he's going to be hindered by that ankle. He got hurt in week 5. I think he's going to be good to go for training camp. It's going to be enough time. They got the best doctors and care. But like I said, I do think the Cowboys will try to use that as like either a bargaining chip or a way to say, hey, it's not guaranteed that you're going to be what you once were. Meet us halfway. We'll pay you this over the course of, like, I just saw an article where they're saying, okay, Dak wanted 5, the Cowboys wanted 4. Maybe they go 6 now, and they stretch that money out over time, and depending on the contract and incentives, and you reach the NFC Championship, you bring us a Super Bowl, whatever, you could potentially make more. But as more time has gone on, the more Dak can sit and think about the rest of the league, and he can even look at his situation with Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore and everybody else under the Cowboys umbrella and say, is this where I want to be? This turned into a disaster for a little bit. We lost 4 games in a row, and this was looking bad. Is this where I want to be? Because the Cowboys many times look dysfunctional. They can be America's team. They can be the richest team in the NFL. But a lot of times with Jerry Jones' leadership, and then even, hiring a head coach that you had a sleepover party with, and you watch this guy get in game situations. He doesn't know when to throw the challenge flag. He doesn't know when to fake a punt or not fake a punt. Dak Prescott could be looking at the situation and saying, I'm in Kirk Cousins path. I'm in Kirk Cousins mode. Kirk Cousins already laid this blueprint out. Do 2 years under the tag and then go somewhere else. And if Dak does that and follows that, he stands to make, $37 million this year on the tag, and then go get a payday somewhere, and then possibly go to a better situation where he could win right away. This Dallas Cowboys team has so many holes in it. Like, that's why I kind of disappeared at the end of the season. You mentioned me doing How About Him. Yeah, I was doing How About Him 3 days a week. But then once the season was over, I'm like, man, forget the Cowboys. There's so many issues with this team. The way they lost that last game of the year was terrible. And Dak might be thinking, maybe this isn't where I want to be. Now, don't get me wrong. Dak has spoken out about, being the Cowboys quarterback. And I even mentioned on this stream the perks that come with that. The Dannon commercials, the sleep number commercials, chunky soup. Yeah, you get checks for those things too. But ultimately, every NFL player wants to go do what Leonard Fournette just did. What JPP just did. What Chris Godwin just did. Hoist that Lombardi trophy for the first time and at least say that they were champions one year. And this Cowboys team is years away from being competitive like that on the defensive side of the ball. They still need to figure out the coaching. And they better have a hell of a draft, because there's holes on the offensive line. There's holes. I mean, obviously, you look at the weapons, the receivers, the running backs, great. But you overpaid Zeke. You overpaid Zeke. You overpaid your running back when he left to go to Cabo. Meanwhile, Dak was handling business. Carson Wentz got paid early. Jared Goff got paid early. Dak didn't. Dak is the last man still standing. He's gotten the short end of the stick from the Dallas Cowboys so many times. I think at this point in his career, him, his brother, his agent, they're trying to get every dollar they can get, and they have all the leverage in the world right now.
Well, I am kind of torn now after what you just said, because I had a question in mind. I wanted to bring it up, but then what you just said goes into a question in the chat. But we'll get to the chat here in just a moment. So hang in there, Brandon. Hang in there, Praise. Hang in there, Jack. We'll get to the comments and stuff in there. My question, and you kind of alluded to it a minute ago. Do you have a fear that Dak Prescott, even though he wants to be with the Cowboys, is going to sit back and deny any contracts or signing a tag until free agency hits so that he can start hearing what other teams are offering him so he could use that in itself as leverage against Jerry?
Yeah, it's a game within a game. And, man, we'll never know what actually goes on in those conversations. I would love to be a fly on the wall with Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Dak Prescott, and his agent, because they've been doing this for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
Man, when the Cowboys started off 3-0 2 years ago, and we beat the Giants, the Dolphins, and the Redskins, and people were talking about Super Bowl, Jerry Jones should have signed Dak right then and there. That was a sweet spot. You could have got a deal done there, and you could have gave him his 4 years, because Dak is young. Dak wanted 4 years so that he could potentially come out and test the market again at age, I think, 30. I think he'd be 31 or 32 if he would have got the contract that he wanted. Yeah, Dak is 27. So if he would have got that 4-year deal, it would have been 27, 28, 29, 30. He would have been able to test the market again at 31. And we all know what type of money these quarterbacks are getting. Look at what Pat Mahomes got. Look at what Deshaun Watson got. All of these quarterbacks want that. Now, is Dak Prescott a top 5 quarterback like Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes? No. But in this NFL, in this league, we see what gets you to the end of the race. You need to have a star quarterback. He doesn't have to be the top 5, with passer rating or yardage. But when you look at what numbers Dak was putting up this year, statistically, he was about to have his best year and probably would have been in that top 5. They're going to have to pay him like a top 5 quarterback, and he knows it. And we all know it. Hence why we're here talking about it. He is going to do the best thing for himself to get the most money. And if that's playing under the franchise tag this year, showing that he is fully healthy and, doing his best with this Cowboys team that, I mean, as a quarterback, having Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb as your 3 receivers, and then having Ezekiel Elliott, and not even so much Zeke, because he took $90 million from money that could have went to Dak, but Tony Pollard, man, that offense is fun. That offense is fun. And the line is going to get back. We've seen videos recently of La'el Collins. We miss that guy. Tyron Smith, who was solid for years. It sucks Travis Frederick had to retire, but we got Zach Martin and some of these other young guys. They learned a lot this year. Steele was a rookie that wasn't supposed to be playing. Viotis was a rookie that necessarily wasn't supposed to be playing. But Connor Williams, I could keep going on about the offensive line. Basically, what I'm trying to say about Dak is he knows he's in a good position with his offensive weapons, but he also knows how much money he stands to gain by testing the market. And there are teams that are going to be very interested in his services that can provide a potential better situation than the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys defense is a long ways away from where it needs to be. Yeah, they fired Mike Nolan, but I don't know who's going to run that unit next year. And they got to draft and make some moves in free agency, maybe get us a safety, do some other things, because right now, staying in Jerry world and not getting paid what you're worth isn't the move for Dak Prescott, and he knows that, and we all know that, especially if they're not going to be that competitive, which they should be. Worst division in football. You would expect the Cowboys to come back next year with a healthy Dak Prescott, take that division, and go into the playoffs. But, hey, this is Jerry's world, and we're all just living in it.
All right, Jack says, aren't the Cowboys just going to tag him again? But there's, like I said earlier in this stream, the tag is a little bit funny because the tag is worth $37 million this year, and the Cowboys only have $20 million in cap space.
That salary cap.
that salary cap's going to hit. Now, to do this, they would have to restructure some contracts, release people, do all kind of things to move money around in order to just drop a tag on Dak Prescott. That is a lot of work and effort, but when it comes to a franchise quarterback, it's worth it. Do you think some of these guys on the Cowboys who have massive contracts already, let's say Lawrence, let's say Elliott, guys like that, do you think that those guys may legitimately be like, you know what? I understand your situation. Let's go ahead, restructure my contract, move some money around so that you're able to get Dak back on the team this year?
Yeah, Tank, how much you making, brother? How much you got? You'll restructure, right? We hear Mike Evans come out right after the Super Bowl and say, take my money. Keep this team together. And they just won it all. Tank just had to go through a bunch of tough losses watching Ben DiNucci play, watching Garrett Gilbert play, watching Andy Dalton try to survive. Who else? Oh, Zeke. I've mentioned the $90 million from Zeke. He should restructure his contract because they're supposed to be best friends. Came in the league together. That's his right-hand man. When COVID was going on, they were photographed together partying, I think, at Dak's house. Who else? Amari Cooper. That's your quarterback. You got a $100 million contract, brother. You could shave a little bit off of that to get the guy throwing you the ball taken care of. Jalen Smith. That's another guy that I just am like, Jerry, that was like Jerry's pet project, right? This kid coming out of Notre Dame. They talked about his knee. Some people said he would never regain his form. He'd never be able to play. He overcame that. And since Jerry took a chance in the second round drafting him, when we could have had Jalen Ramsey and then we could have had Derrick Henry with that draft that we took Ezekiel Elliott at 4, and then we took Jalen Smith in the second round. I think he was number, I don't know, it's like 34, something like that. But Jalen Smith, you got paid, bro, and you some games you blow the game for us at middle linebacker. Some people are talking about drafting a middle linebacker first round because we're worried about you. Sean Lee is absolutely done. Leighton Vander Esch is injury prone. Some of these guys are going to have to restructure their contracts to keep Dak here. And I am very interested in seeing the numbers that come out around what the Cowboys offered Dak, what they didn't offer Dak, what Dak countered with. Because like you said, that price tag, that franchise tag is high now. It isn't what the franchise tag isn't what it used to be for the quarterback 10 years ago. It's high now. And with the salary cap in the NFL, different than baseball, right? You might have to stretch that out. Like, that's why I said I wanted to read this article. It's like how a 6-year deal could benefit Dak, with the Yankees. I cover the Yankees in baseball, and they were saying DJ LeMahieu was going to get 4 years, $100 million, 4 years. $100 million would have gave him $25 million a year. That would have hit us hard the year after COVID. Couldn't do it. They surprised everybody, and they said, the Yankees don't want to go. No, DJ wants to go 5. The Yankees want to go 4. The Yankees surprised everyone. They said, we'll go 6, and we'll give him $90 million, and that'll be $15 million a year stretched out over time. So the Cowboys might have to get crafty and figure out a 6-year deal that's going to pay Dak more. And the last thing I'll say about that is they gave Tony Romo 6 years, $100 million. No problem. Tony Romo compared to Dak, Dak took Romo's job. And I know a lot of Cowboys fans love Romo. I ain't got no love for Romo. Well, Tom Brady has played Romo's whole career and his TV career. I got no love for Romo. And I get there were some good times, but he turned the ball over a lot. And Jerry Jones loved him. Since Jerry Jones loved him, he got him that 6-year, $100 million contract before he had to. Dak, show the same love to Dak.
Yeah, the only issue is, you're talking about 6-year deal. I think that's a great idea. Only from what I understand, the reason Dak wants a 4-year deal is so that he could get multiple contracts while he's still at his prime, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he wants to do a 4-year contract. That way he can do another contract by the time he's 30. So he could have 2 monster contracts during that time frame, which is, thinking about his pocket, obviously. But at the same time, a 6-year deal is not as bad as what a lot of people would think. It's an interesting way of going about things. Bringing up a question that Brandon Ace brought up earlier, he thinks that the reason Jerry Jones, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, you talked about them being in the same draft class. You talk about them getting paid big, and now neither quarterback is on the same team as they were after they signed these big contracts, because let's face it, after they signed the big contracts, right after they signed the big contracts, their production disappeared. They weren't worth the money that they were paid. Do you think there's a fear of that happening as well?
Yeah, there's got to be a fear of that. There's got to be a fear because it's already been talked about. Why doesn't Dak want to take the deal that was on the table? Because Dak knows, hey, I can get paid a lot of money doing what I'm doing, and I don't necessarily want to be stuck here or tied here. Yeah, we understand the value of being the Cowboys quarterback, but I'm trying to win. I put the team on my back. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get to the Super Bowl and be a champion. And if you guys don't do enough around me, I got to walk. Man, it's a trash situation as a fan because, like I said, we didn't have to be here. They could have paid Dak early before this, and all the time that has passed just gave Dak more leverage, and we paid a bunch of other guys before him. And this is the Dallas Cowboys. I've watched the Dallas Cowboys go from Quincy Carter days to Brad Johnson days to who knows, man, Matt Castle, Kellen Moore, Brandon Whedon, like it's just random quarterbacks. And, you got the guy, you have the guy sitting there that you drafted, that it was a steal in the 4th round. You were the team that decided that this guy was worth it in the 4th round. And he overcame all the obstacles that were thrown at. Oh, he can't throw the ball. Oh, he's more of a rusher. Oh, he only played 1 year in the SEC. He doesn't have the tools to get it done. He overcame all that, and he was thrown into the fire in the preseason when Romo goes down, and then he carries the team. They rip off 8 wins in a row that season. He loses to Aaron Rodgers. That happens, but he's got 1 win under his belt in the playoffs. And he's the undeniable heart and soul of this team. And the last thing I'll say about Dak, because I'm such a huge Dak fan, do they not care about what this guy has gone through off the field? Do they not care about how transparent he was about his grief, about his issues, losing his brother to suicide this past year, losing his mother to cancer when he was in college? This is a strong young man. This is the type of guy that, like, I'm a fan of, and if the Cowboys don't do right by him, I'm literally considering, ending my Cowboys fandom because it's that big. I'm like, it's a no-brainer to me that they need to do right by this guy. Both sides need to meet in the middle and get it done, because if not, I think Dallas they're heading down a wrong path. They had it, and it's their job to fix it. And Dak Prescott is a very valuable player. He's 27 years old. He's going to come back just fine from that ankle. Maybe even a little better, because like I said, that perspective of sitting on the couch, watching your team play every week, not being able to do anything about it, and also seeing the league. I'm a basketball fan. I've watched Kevin Durant come back from an Achilles, and Kevin Durant talks about how he watched the league last year and how his perspective changed being a spectator, being a fan. You don't get that perspective when you're in it all season. So I think Dak comes back a better player. And like I said, when you look at the NFC least, so worst division in football, there's no good quarterbacks in that division. The Cowboys should run away with that division if they do right and they sign Dak.
Okay, so we're getting a little bit tight on this because we had this an agreement of about a half an hour, but I got one more question.
I got some time. I got time.
It sounds to me like you're more you're going to ride with Dak no matter what happens in this situation. And if the Cowboys don't pony up, that Dak leaves, then you're done possibly with the Cowboys. With Dak's talents and the fact that Dak needs to be on a team that has a shot at getting to the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl, Christian Cabrera brings up Dak to the Niners. My question to you is, if the Cowboys in the Dak situation does not pan out, and the worst case scenario happens and Dak moves on and goes to a different team, what are some teams that you would love to see Dak Prescott on? Obviously, maybe love's a strong word, because, you would love to see him on the Cowboys still. But, if that doesn't happen, what are some teams that, with Dak Prescott, where would you like to see him go if he can't be with the Cowboys?
Any team with a ready-made defense that's already competitive and they're just missing that quarterback to put them over the top. Dak can get it done with next to nobody. People forget not long ago, Dak was throwing the ball to Cole Beasley, which not to slight Cole Beasley because he's a good player, but Dak was throwing the ball to Cole Beasley. I can't even think of some of the guys that are on the team before we made the deal to go get Amari Cooper. Then we draft Michael Gallup. Then we draft CeeDee Lamb. The whole reason they went and traded a first-round pick for Amari Cooper was because they're like, we can't evaluate Dak when he doesn't have any weapons. He's throwing to a slow Jason Witten. Who did we bring over here? We brought from Allen Hurns. Was it Allen Hurns for a little bit? Cole Beasley, and then the guy, what was his name? I don't know. He played for the Cardinals and he played for us, but he wasn't a number 1 receiver. He was number 19, Bruce Butler or Bryce Butler. I'm like, this guy has nobody to throw the ball to. So I would like to see Dak go to a situation where the defense is set up. Here's 3 teams. So the Niners, obviously, that D-line, they've got a bunch of guys on that defense that are ready to rock for the next few years. I think that'd be a great fit for him. How about the Steelers? Big Ben, bow out. Big Ben, bow out after this year. And, Dak Prescott could be on the way. The Colts, we're on Colts law. I love the Colts defense. Phillip Rivers is out of there. If you guys get Carson Wentz reunited with Frank Wright, I know that's the talk, but like, I don't know. I think Dak is better than Wentz. And what's one other team? Oh, the Dolphins. If the Dolphins don't get Watson, or they give Tua another year and he's not the guy, man, that defense, you put Dak on that team, that defense is ready to rock and roll. So I'm not even thinking about what running backs or what receiving core to put him with, because he puts the team on his back. When I say he puts the team on his back, if it's a coverage sack, he's going to go run and get the first. If receivers are dropping passes and Zeke isn't running the ball, he'll take a QB draw or a zone read and he'll run it. Dak is the type of guy that he can make something out of nothing. And it's unfortunate that his time with the Dallas Cowboys, he spends a lot of time trying to come back in games, trying to keep us in games. When if we had a better defense, all he'd have to do is manage the game, and he's more than a game manager. So any team with a ready-made defense is where I'd like to see Dak Prescott end up.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and end this stream. I appreciate everybody that's been in the chat. I want to give this moment to give my boy Keith McPherson a moment to just let everybody know where they can find him and what's going on in his life right now.
Yeah, so it's the government name my mom gave me, Keith McPherson. A few years back, I decided to just go as that. I realized that I didn't want to come up with like a screen name or an alias, and that, my name on paper is where people should be able to find me. So all across platforms, I'm in the I'm in the YouTube chat. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Keith McPherson. But if you specifically want to, hone in on my brands or the sports or the teams that I follow, I cover the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets for basketball under Talkin' Nets at Talkin' Nets. And then I do my baseball stuff, specifically the Yankees under Pinstripe Strong. I live about 15 minutes from MetLife Stadium, another 20 minutes from Yankee Stadium, and another 40 minutes from the Barclays Center right outside of New York. So I cover New York sports. I'm in the New York sports atmosphere.
It's very odd. You're so close to all these other teams, but you're completely across the country Cowboys. When it comes to the Cowboys. Yeah. But that's okay because, Walter Reed here, he lives in Dallas and he's a Colts fan. So that happens, right? It happens. Yeah. It happens. It's great because that's the great thing about the NFL. You got fans all over, not just the country, but the world. I love engaging with them. Thank you again for finding a few minutes to spend with me here. Hopefully we'll have time to maybe bring you on again at some point, talk some more NFL. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen with my guy, Keith McPherson. And until next time, have a good one.